Has anyone ever told you that they want to grow? Maybe you've told yourself this. Maybe you say something along the lines of, I wish I had more patience. I wish I would grow. And, but when you really dig into that and talk about like what leads to that growth, or if we're talking about something like patience, how do we become more patient people? And I'll give you a perfect example of this. I've long since said I want to be a more patient person. I want to be more patient. It's not one of my strengths. And lo and behold, my daughter is born, and we have our first child. And I am now confronted with situations that require tremendous patience. And what's interesting is that, like, when you're confronted with those situations and you overcome them, you become a more patient person. And it's the same thing when it comes to growth. It's like anybody who ever says they want to grow, you will be like delighted, perhaps not, but you will be faced with situations and challenges and barriers and problems that, should you go through them, you will grow. And they give you this opportunity to achieve the very thing you want to achieve. And I guess the great tragedy is the fact that, like, the very thing, like, so for us to become the people we want to become, a lot of that comes down to like how we respond to various situations. You want to grow. When confronted with a situation that can lead to you growing as an individual, it does require you to confront it, address it, solve it, go through it. But the tragedy oftentimes is the fact that when confronted with these problems, the very same people that say they want to grow often at the point of that problem say, no thanks, and literally rob themselves of that growth. It'd be no different than if you were confronted with a situation like I mentioned earlier, where you say you want to be a more patient person. And when someone tests your patience, rather than saying, what an opportunity this is to become a more patient person, instead, like, responding very negatively and not gaining that lesson, if you will. So there's this great book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And there's a quote in the book, when they talk about, it's through his experience in concentration camps. And I think it's a very important read, but, he addresses the fact of, like, these people that had almost everything, if not everything, taken away from them, the clothes off their backs, their identity, everything in these concentration camps for years and years and years. Like, what is it that drove them to endure that suffering for multiple years, not knowing whether they were going to be there for, a matter of months or a matter of years? And, like, the ones, most did not survive, but the ones who did, he addressed the fact that they saw the greater purpose in their suffering. And, there's a quote by Nietzsche that says that he who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. So they saw, like, the suffering that they were enduring during this time as an opportunity to endure and to find meaning through that suffering. And the book is around also logotherapy, which is something Viktor Frankl talks about in terms of, like, finding meaning in even the darkest, of pits and the most challenging problems, if you will. So I'll close out with this: whether you want to grow, whether you want to be more patient, whatever it is that you want and the type of person you want to become, when confronted with situations that allow you to actually become that human being, by going through it, by enduring, by, like, just, solving the problems and so on, viewing it as life happening for you rather than to you. So that's sometimes the way out is the way through.